What is up, my crafties, and welcome back to my Craftalicious YouTube channel. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the peeps who actually stuck around and stayed here for around 3 months waiting for my next episode. Again, I thank you guys so much because the people who stay here mean so much to me. And I'm so sorry that I haven't been able to post a lot of content lately, but I promise I will be changing that. Anyways, guys, again, thank you so much for supporting me and continuing to support me. And I hope you enjoy The View from Here, Part 5, Chapter 7. Enjoy! Logan and Patton just kind of stared in awe at Virgil and Roman. Now that the two of them realized that neither of their brothers really had any idea what they were doing, this entire event had just become comedy. Virgil and Roman were arguing if they were supposed to be using spatulas or tongs to flip the steaks, how to tell if they were cooked enough, how cooked they should be, whether or not either of their secret spice mixes were any good, why theirs was better. It went on and on. It also seemed like Virgil had turned up the heat on the grill without Roman noticing, and while he was doing that, Roman was loosening the lids on Virgil's seasonings. Roman's steaks weren't holding up too well to the heat, and Virgil's potatoes seemed to be about 90% salt when the lid fell off his shaker. This went on and on, bickering and subtle sabotaging as they went. You know, this is kind of cute. How on earth did you come to that conclusion? Well, neither of them have any idea what they're doing or talking about, but they are competing to sort of do something nice. They're trying to impress each other and us. What if they ruin all the food? Psh, have you looked at me? I have plenty of food in case they end up with nothing. Patton laughed his deep laugh and playfully and lightly slapped Logan on the shoulder. Logan blushed. I have definitely been looking at you, Logan said under his breath. What was that, Logan? Patton asked sincerely. Do you cook a lot? Logan deflected. The two of them made casual conversation for a while until it began to smell like food. They turned to look at their brothers, noticing they weren't arguing anymore and actually looked like they might be having a good time. Should I go check on them? I mean, we should probably find out if there's actually going to be food or if I should start cooking. Patton looked a little concerned, but Logan just shrugged. It's not a bad idea. They both chuckled a little, and Patton stood to head over. Logan's cheeks flushed once more. Sitting near a standing-up Patton was quite a sight. It was like looking up at a mountain from the base. Patton wandered his way over to the grill, and the two seemed to be laughing and having fun. How's it going, kiddos? Patton smiled, looking at what they had on the grill. Surprisingly well, Virgil said with a side smile. Surprisingly? Patton raised an eyebrow and smirked. Oh, I thought you two were both masters at this. Virgil and Roman glanced at each other. Well, maybe not exactly masters, but not half bad either. Roman smiled, looking at the grill. Patton surveyed what he was looking at. It seemed like about half the steaks and half the sides they had started with were still going strong. Can I ask what happened to the rest? Well, Roman steaks all burned into terrible little chunks of coal. Virgil gestured to the trash bag, which appeared to be full of black rocks. Virgil's potatoes just kinda disintegrated? Roman laughed and pointed to another bag full of sand. But his veggies are coming out really good. Virgil smiled at Roman. And his steaks look and smell divine. Roman smiled back at Virgil. Aw, you two, I'm so proud. And beamed and pulled both of them in at his sides and ruffled their hair. Thanks, Pat. The food should be ready in just a minute. Roman looked beyond proud of himself. Thanks, Virgil said quietly with a blush. The food didn't take too much longer, and they soon all sat down to eat their meals. The food was surprisingly delicious, eliciting a huge confident boost in Roman and a shy pride in Virgil. Once they finished, Patton ran inside and grabbed his desserts. Whoa, Pat, you got all that done last night? You must have been up late. Virgil smiled, immediately snagging a cookie. Oh, you made brownies for me? That's so kind of you. Roman smiled and grabbed one of the red frosted treats, not realizing that Patton had even noticed his taste for them the day before. These caramels are delicious, and the color is quite vibrant, Logan added, looking at the marbled blue treats. Aw, you guys, you're making me blush. Patton's face was tinged pink. It was really no problem. The four of them hung out around the table, chatting and finishing their lunches until Roman stood and ripped his shirt right off. "Well, let's swim!" Roman beamed, flexing his pecs and arms. Virgil flushed a bit. Roman was the only one who had really noticeable muscles. He was small, but he was definitely defined. Virgil tried to hide how he instinctively bit his lip by raising his hand to his face for a moment. He then pulled his shirt off as well, mostly because he was the only one still wearing one. "Hey, you two, get sunscreen on. Roman, make sure you lather it thick on my little bro. He's as pale as can be." Patton smiled as he stood over to walk to the pool. "Will do, Pat," Roman called, grabbing that pink toddler sunscreen that Patton had given them. "Come on over here, Snow White." Virgil rolled his eyes and sat at the edge of the chair so Roman could do his back while he worked on his arms and legs. Logan wandered after Patton, looking closely at the pool, then back up at Patton, then back at the pool. Patton noticed his pondering. "Is something the matter, Logan?" Patton looked concerned. "Oh, no, I was just wondering, with how tall you are, how deep is your pool?" "It's around..." Patton leapt into the pool with a sizable splash and sunk straight to the bottom. Logan could barely make out what he was doing, but it looked like he was reaching up with his hand to see if he could break the surface. Patton sprang back up after a second, and his head broke the surface of the water with a smile. "I think about 13 feet, maybe 14. He chuckled as he wiped some water off his glasses. "That is quite deep," Logan said, bemused. "Well, it has to be, or else I can't do this," Virgil called from a few feet back. Everyone turned their attention to the pale giant who ran toward the pool and did an elegant dive from the edge. He popped up after a moment with a laugh. "Here I come!" Roman called next and did a cannonball into the water, creating a rather small splash. Virgil laughed and dove down into the water and snagged Roman on his ascent. He came up with Roman cradled in his arms. "I didn't want to lose you down there. You sink like a little stone," Virgil laughed. Roman playfully splashed Virgil. "Hey, I am not a little stone. I am a very robust pebble?" That really isn't better, is it?" Roman pouted. "Don't worry, robust pebble. I'll help you out." Virgil swam to the slightly shallower section of the water so he could stand. He dunked himself underwater and came up under Roman so he was sitting on his shoulders. "Now you are the biggest," Virgil laughed. "I could get used to being up here," Roman smiled. "Now charge my alabaster steed." Virgil rolled his eyes. "What?" Virgil groaned. "Shush, steed," Roman laughed and pointed to Logan, who hadn't gotten in the water. "Fellow knight, mount your steed and joust with me." Patton and Logan instantly turned a bit pinker. "I think he means me?" "Come on, Logan, let's take those two down." Patton smiled, his eyes twinkling. Logan stepped into the pool silently and popped up near Patton. The taller one grabbed his hand and pulled him into the shallower end before dunking under and letting Logan sit on his shoulders before coming back up. "Wow, Logan, you are so light," Patton laughed. "He is the lightest of all of us. But me, I'm 167 pounds of muscular fury." Roman pulled his feet up to Virgil's shoulders and then pushed off of him, diving forward and tackling Logan right off Patton's shoulders. Had instinctively ducked, which unfortunately for Logan meant it was only easier for Roman to knock him back into the water. For a brief moment, Virgil and Patton just stood and looked at each other, unsure of what had just happened. The two rose from the water shortly. Roman laughed as soon as he had air back in his lungs, and Logan scowled, shaking water from his glasses. "I am victorious!" Roman cheered. "That isn't how the game works," Logan angrily responded. "Maybe we should switch teams," Virgil slowly spoke. Roman turned to Virgil to question his motives, but Roman noticed a glint in his eye that spoke volumes. "Why is that, Virgil?" Logan asked. "Well, I'm about 4 inches shorter than Patton. Roman is about 5 inches shorter than you. I think it'll even out the teams. Right now we have 2 shorter brothers against 2 taller brothers." He shrugged, doing his best to look nonchalant. Patton could tell he was up to something, but he wasn't sure what. Virgil only got that look in his eye when he was scheming. "Makes sense to me." Roman smiled and slammed towards Patton. "Now I'll be even taller." "Psh, don't get used to it, robust pebble." Virgil rolled his eyes playfully, and Roman stuck out his tongue. "Come over here, Logan." "All right." Logan came over to Virgil, and the 2 smaller brothers dunked and scooped up the 2 Towers brothers. Patton is right. You are pretty light, Logan. Virgil chuckled as he walked toward Patton. Roman and Logan locked hands, trying to knock each other over. Virgil and Patton tried to be sturdy bases, but Patton had a serious advantage in that department. After a few moments of their fight, Virgil tipped backwards pretty far, threatening to knock their team over. As he teetered forward again, trying to compensate for how far back he just swayed, he tripped and fell to his knees underwater, sending Logan flying towards Patton. Patton instinctively reached out to catch Logan, but he was falling too fast. He did manage to catch them, but their faces were about only an inch apart. They looked into each other's eyes, getting lost in the other's gaze. In a flash of bravery, Logan gently raised his hands and placed them on either side of Patton's cheek. Their cheeks were darkening, but it didn't stop both of them from closing their eyes as Logan slowly pulled Patton's mouth to his. Patton tentatively wrapped his arms around Logan rather than just holding him up the way he had been. They were so lost in the moment, so focused on each other. They didn't notice Virgil sneaking around behind them and snagging Roman right off Patton's shoulders. Roman and Virgil shared a silent fist bump and a quick kiss as they snuck off quietly. By the time Patton and Logan pulled away and were just looking at each other with pink cheeks and wide eyes, Virgil and Roman were back at the snacks. "Woo!" Roman called, only causing the two in the pool to blush more deeply. "Oh, so good," Virgil added, cookies jammed in his face. Patton did a minor face palm at Virgil's weakness for cookies, but didn't comment. The two in the pool slowly walked out to join the two at the snacks, shyly holding hands. "Do you always talk with your mouth full?" Roman groaned, looking up at Virgil. "Only with cookies." He shrugged. Patton rolled his eyes. Yeah, pros and cons to making him these cookies. One of the very few things he doesn't seem to be able to maintain self-control with. Patton smiled. His cheeks were flushed, but he was happy no one mentioned how he was still holding hands with Logan. Luckily, Roman and Virgil seemed very supportive, especially when you considered how their first kiss happened in the first place. Logan and Patton couldn't help but be thankful for their impulsive brothers. Roman and Virgil didn't even seem to be paying attention. Roman was scowling at Virgil, and Virgil was just eating. "Hey, your makeup is running all over your face, Jack Skellington," Roman commented, the others looking over and noticing the black makeup starting to run down Virgil's cheeks. Virgil just shoulder shrugged and plopped down in a chair. Roman grabbed a napkin and began wiping off the running black mess. As he wiped it away, he was infatuated with Virgil's face. He had always found him attractive, but this is the first time he'd seen his smooth, pale skin, completely bare. "What are you staring at? Is my makeup that bad?" Virgil swallowed, a little concerned as he saw Roman's eyes were laser focused on his face. "Oh, no, I, Roman blushed a bit. "I've never seen your face this clear before," Virgil smiled. "Oh, it's the same pale skin and bones," he smiled. "Anyway, hey, aren't we having a pool party?" He smiled and popped up out of his chair. He scooped up Roman and headed back over to the pool. Virgil threw his moderately protesting boyfriend into the water and jumped in after him. Logan and Patton smiled and looked up at each other. Patton suddenly smirked. "Well, your turn, Lo." Patton pulled Logan in and easily picked him up, also running over to the water and tossing him in. Virgil and Roman were cackling, laughing in the water as they saw Logan easily fly into the pool. This time, however, he came up with a laugh and a smile. Patton took a running leap and cannonballed into the water, sending everyone floating off in different directions with a huge wave of water. The pool was like the ocean for a few moments as the waves from Patton's entrance tried to settle back down. They spent the rest of the day playing around in the water. Plenty of roughhousing and lots of fun and games were had, including several instances of Roman trying to prove that he could lift Virgil the same way Virgil could lift him. It turned out that he actually could, but Virgil had to be very willing to be scooped up, and he had to pull himself as tightly as possible, or his feet and or head would drag on the floor. Nonetheless, Roman was proud. Virgil and Roman left a little after the sun had gone down, giving Patton and Logan the opportunity to have a private goodbye. "So," Patton began, looking at Logan standing in front of his door. I had a lovely day today, Patton. Thank you for having us over," Logan said, his tone defaulting to plain as his cheeks continued to darken. "Oh, of course. I had a really great day as well. I hope to have more. A lot like this." Patton stumbled a bit over his words. Logan couldn't help but find him incredibly endearing. Well, next time we see each other, maybe it could just be the two of us, Logan said, slightly less confidence in his voice. Patton's eyes lit up as he just nodded several times. I would love that. So would I. I'll send you a text when I arrive home. It seems only logical to inform someone that I have made it to my destination safely. Especially my boyfriend? Logan's sentence trailed off into a very nervous-sounding question, looking up at Patton like he was worried he would shatter him right there. Patton's eyes became a bit shinier as he rushed forward and hugged Logan tight before planting a kiss on top of his head. Yes, I think your boyfriend would enjoy that very much. The two shared another gentle kiss just before Logan left to head home. Patton softly closed the door and leaned up against it for a brief moment, trying to calm his heart and his breathing. Logan was sitting in his car, silently leaned back in his seat with his eyes shut, calming himself before he attempted to drive anywhere. My boyfriend,